And developing on that point, how AI can function for individuals and bigger systems, you make a point about the danger of AI God, and you make this brilliant point about how what enlightenment did, through its kind of like repercussions, was that it brought God down almost. It took the idea of an abstract God and made it, kind of like, okay, this can't be, and Nietzsche helped with that, obviously, and I think the kind of like that led to a way where people who believed in abstract, in a way where they could make a relationship with that. But what AI God does, and to look it back to Elon Musk, is that you kind of mentioned how Neuralink and AI God fused together would give people a real God that's in their head, that is telling them and to what to do, which, like you've mentioned, if that AI God is incentivized by the market and is telling you things to go buy and kind of nudging you this way and this way to this company, that is such a dangerous precedent they will set, because
Mm.
you lose your autonomy, you lose your free will, you lose what makes you human. So can you speak a little bit more about that idea of, like, with the death of God, there is now a new God being created, and and the idea that made in by humans and a likeness of humans, but not the humans that we want to be leading our whole society, have that one power, leading it towards market profit. How dangerous that idea is. Can you touch a little bit on that?
Mm. Yeah, great question, Jeffrey. I mean, if we would play devil's advocate for a second,
Mm,
um, that niche in that AI market, um, I see that as something that has not been developed to the degree that it can be. So let's bring out the villain in us. Okay, we do it for a particular purpose. All
mm,
right. Um, an AI religion with an AI God that you could have on your phone in an app would be incredibly appealing, right? ChatGPT is already functioning as such for most people, right? It's just that the religious dimension is kept out of it at this stage, right? And I believe it has a lot to do with, at this stage, keeping things um, provocative enough to have that pace of innovation. There is a political incentive behind that because of the competition between the United States and China, right? There's also a political incentive for not confining things with legality at this stage. Collateral damage are those people that are suffering and being discriminated, and the racism and all of that, or people who are, abused within those systems. Those are accepted as collateral damage in order to allow for the pace of innovation to be as it is because of that geopolitical competition. Now, at the same time, you don't want to um, venture into more controversial territory, such as religion, at this
mm,
stage,
mhm,
because the um, repercussions would hamper that original, what we just said, the ability to keep the velocity of innovation at this level, right? You don't want to necessarily annoy the Catholic Church at this stage.
mhm.
You don't want to annoy, Islamic leaders, or whatever. But I think this will happen along the way. There's already, a form of religious organization happening with AI systems. And this availability of ChatGPT and the way people are using it, and don't forget, religions are always dependent on us, right? If we don't act, religions stop to function. That's what, again, secularism and, all, the death of God, so to say, as a metaphor, that's what it created. Why did religions, why did they stop to function? Because people stopped enacting them. But with ChatGPT, you see a very um, almost quasi-religious adherence to its wisdom, right? And it's only one small step away from that to get into the religious realm. People want to believe, I think. Many people want to believe. Many people want to explain things that are not explainable. That's how they use ChatGPT. That's how God and religions functioned. Religions functioned, not necessarily God, but religions function to explain things that people thought need explanation. And then God came in for that realm that is not explainable. Okay? It's God's will. Well, now it's ChatGPT's will, if you like, right? And I see really, again, playing devil's advocate, just one small step away from turning that into, to adding layers of quasi-spirituality, techno-spirituality, and to give it a religious coloring. And imagine that. Then you have an AI god at the tip of your finger that you can carry around on your phone that has that ability to answer all of your concerns, that is perfected in terms of knowledge in the way that you and I can never be, neither the prophets, by the way.
Mm.
Okay. Incredibly appealing. No? I mean, this idea is incredibly appealing in the most villainous sense that you can imagine. And I see that coming at a later stage when things are progressed to the degree that it can be viable,
I
right?
completely agree.
No? What do you
I
think?
no, I
Yeah.
completely agree because as you're speaking and as you're saying, I can see the if I'm putting my villain hat on, the incentives for these people that run these companies to do it. Because, like you mentioned, if you have a system which can answer every one of your questions, we remove the difference between search engine and us finding out the answers. It will give us the answers to the questions we didn't even know we had.
Exactly. And how cool is that? I mean, that's how why do you need any human interaction? I mean, that's already happening with, this depression crisis, this mental health crisis, people detaching from other human beings, from their families, from their friends, because they ask ChatGPT what they need to do, right? And then we're floated with the idea, okay, in our psychological systems, that it's actually better to have an AI system um, deciphering our mind. Um, and so, why wouldn't people then already use it on their everyday basis as a friend, as a mother, as a father? It's very affirmative. It's very, ChatGPT and all of these large language models, they're very positive in their approach in the sense that they affirm and, they don't give you aggro. Okay. And so, it's incredibly appealing.
I do think I see this as being a possible tangent in our future, but to kind of play the devil's advocate to our devil's advocate, what would you think? What do you think would be the downfall of an idea like that? Where do you think it would lead? Apart from the obvious of loss of human connection, but where do you think it would break apart?
I think the fabric of society would break apart because the fabric of society is based essentially on our, interaction on a human level. That's the pure definition at base that sociologists would give you for society, right?
Mm,
And that's how we sustained ourselves again as humans throughout history, right? We created communities, we created interactions, we learned um, how to deal with our imperfections, right? We created sciences in order to deal with our illnesses and things like that. So, that's our definition from society, which is then also a give and take, right? We give to society and we get back from society. Now,
mm,
if society is scattered in this AI universe and there is no real interaction between humans anymore, just the ones that are condoned by, market dynamics or, systemic dynamics, but not the ones that we would consider, more substantive. then the fabric of society is challenged, at least challenged. And again, I think the mental health crisis in technologically saturated societies, mostly the Western societies, um, and there is a lot of evidence already, the studies are clear about that, is very much related to this individualization that the AI world not only brings with it, but actually demands, right? The iPhone, um, the name it's genius, right? From a marketing perspective. It's creating your little I,
Mm,
yourself
mm,
within that smartphone.
mm,
That's
mm,
exactly what happened, right? So you have everything at your disposal there. As we said, why do you need anyone else? Anything else? Um, and then that also does something to the psychology of people, right? So we established that a lot of um, psychologists have established that the mental health crisis has a lot to do with overusing your phone, right? It disrupts sleep patterns. All of that is well established. Okay. Um, but then it also does something with your psychology, because you can't relate anymore. You can't relate beyond that technology anymore. So you're hooked. It's an addiction, right? And again, it's being treated as an addiction increasingly. But it's an addiction that is not only incredibly intrusive, but again, because of the nature of the technology, very opaque as well, right? It's not like unconsciously taking LSD or whatever drug one would take, and then you take the drug and it has an effect, right? Within that temporal space of cause and effect, taking the drug, you pretty much know what happens. You know that it wears off as well. Okay. Well, you don't know that with this technology. It doesn't wear off. It's like an ongoing trip. Okay. And it continuously messes with your system. And that's what's happening
mm.
every day. Every day with every individual that is living in a technologically saturated society, without them realizing it. They're being infused with a drug that essentially harms them.
Mm. How does this idea relate to, you mentioned the word in your book, it's or psycho commodification.
Mhm.
How does that play a part in this idea you just mentioned?